الحمد لله الذي أنزل على عبده الكتاب ولم يجعل له عوجا قيما لينذر بأسا شديدا من لدنه ويبشر المؤمنين الذين يعملون الصالحات أن لهم أجرا حسنا ماكثين فيه أبدا وينذر الذين قالوا اتخذ الله ولدا ما لهم به من علم ولا لآبائهم كبرت كلمة تخرج من أفواههم إن يقولون إلا كذبا فلعلك باخع نفسك على آثارهم إن لم يؤمنوا بهذا الحديث أسفا إنا جعلنا ما على الأرض زينة لها لنبلوهم أيهم أحسن عملا وإنا لجاعلون ما عليها صعيدا جرزا أم حسبت أن أصحاب الكهف والرقيم كانوا من آياتنا عجبا إذ أوى الفتية إلى الكهف فقالوا ربنا آتنا من لدنك رحمة وهيئ لنا من أمرنا رشدا فضربنا على آذانهم في الكهف سنين عددا ثم بعثناهم لنعلم أي الحزبين أحصى لما لبثوا أمدا نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى وربطنا على قلوبهم إذ قاموا فقالوا ربنا رب السماوات والأرض لن ندعو من دونه إلها لقد قلنا إذا شططا هؤلاء قومنا اتخذوا من دونه آلهة لولا يأتون عليهم بسلطان بين فمن أظلم ممن افترى على الله كذبا وإذ اعتزلتموهم وما يعبدون إلا الله فأووا إلى الكهف ينشر لكم وإذ اعتزلتموهم وما يعبدون إلا الله فأووا إلى
Alhamdulillah, thank you for all joining on this cold night. And it's still every week, I keep hoping for better news, what's happening in Yemen, Syria, Lebanon, Palestine, and it's just getting worse. So these discussions have been aimed on how we become better as Muslims so we could be better for humanity, to kill the ego that's happening in the world, because we've lost our ego, humans, to this world. That's why the Imam says, don't fall in love with this world. For if you knew what was in the next, you would say this world is just sport and play. Nothing is worth your akhirah. And that's why the Palestinian movement is so strong, because millions of people are looking at the Palestinians and saying every other word is about Allah and going to meet the world. How do such people have such faith? So the discussions that I have on a weekly basis is for me to improve on that. And then hopefully the little that I know, I share it. And anything I share with you is not my personal belief. Never will be. Who am I to share my personal belief? But it's things that I've taken since 2007, especially in the counseling field, giving people tools of Islam, and they come back. That's why one day I'll probably write a book on testimonials, just people's stories. Because when somebody comes up and shares their story, says, I've overcome my marriage issues, I've overcome my doubts in Islam, I've overcome my other issues in my life, I've overcome to become somebody who's ready to meet their Lord, or at least attempting. And the things that I teach you is not because I've just read it in a book. It's something that I first have applied probably years ago. And I've taught others how to apply it at an individual base. Now it's at a broader base to help the community. And I probably will spend, if Allah wills, the rest of my life doing this. For me, there's no other reason to live on this earth except getting closer to Allah and helping others become closer to Allah. Otherwise, what is this world for? And Shaitan has got me and the rest of us thinking this world is going to be forever, and thus we have affinities to this world. And that's why we're going to challenge. I'm going to do something for the first time. And I'm going to need some bold participants in the middle of this lecture to come up on stage. And inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So we're going to talk about a little bit about envy. It's Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam's, it's the 10th Imam, it's his Shahada. We're going to speak a little bit about him. We're going to speak about our why, really focusing on why what we do. And then if we have time, some other things. So envy. How do you deal with the evil eye? Because it's real. Somebody can affect you. It's in the Holy Quran with their evil eye. What's the fastest way? That's why I don't have mine on today, but you wear an akik, right? You wear a ring to protect you. But what's the best way for protection from the evil eye? Is be grateful. Allah has given you something for God. God has given you something for people to be jealous of. If you drive a Ferrari and you notice people have evil eye, be grateful Allah has given you this Ferrari. If you have a beautiful house and you notice people are jealous, just be grateful. But you have to truly be grateful in the sense, it wasn't you that earned that house. It wasn't you that earned that business. It wasn't. Who was it? Allah gave it to you. You knew Allah's system. Allah gave you opportunities. You got it. Be grateful. How does envy start? Because you can be envious towards the people who are envious towards you. Say, well, they're just jealous of me because I got something. And you really think it was you that got it. You are nothing. When you compare yourself to tangible things that you did it, you are nothing compared to what Allah has given you. It's all Allah. And as soon as you die, you realize, oh, I had very little control in this world. It was all my free will. How arrogant was I, thinking it was me? And the key is to kill the egoic self before you die, because you don't want to kill the ego in barzakh. It's harder. And if you can't kill your ego in barzakh, then you have to kill it in hell. You really don't want to do it there. So the key is to kill your ego now. And today we're going to try to kill the ego a little bit. So Imam al-Baqir alayhi salam says, a man may be forgiven for something done in a fit of anger, but envy devours faith as fire consumes wood. Meaning when you become so envious, anger, it's a state. It's your person. It's just like a temperament for a short time. I'm envious. I mean, I'm jealous, or I'm angry because of somebody. You could only be angry for how long? After that, you're faking it. Come on, I've talked about this before. How long? 2 minutes. Then after that, you're faking it. And then when they take people's blood after they became angry, what do they find in it? Come on, poison, right? So there's poison. So when you become angry at somebody, It's like it's like drinking poison, expecting that person to die. Same with envy. Here's some poison. I'm going to get angry at you. I'm going to yell at you. I'm going to be jealous of you. All I'm doing is saying, I'm going to drink this poison, expecting you to die. That's what anger does. That's what jealousy does. But the difference with envy, it's a state. How long would you look for your keys for if you lost them? Really? Your keys? 5 days? Would you look for them for years? There's things that you lost years ago. Are you still looking for them? No. Our soul is the same way. If you don't constantly reflect about yourself, and that's what this discussion's about, you'll stop looking for it, and then you'll be in an envious state. Those are the people, you know, when you meet them, you get that gut feeling. This person's up to no good. And the most successful people follow their gut. And we're going to talk about that. How do you follow your intuition? And what's the difference between your intuition and your analytical self? And why your gut is way stronger? Because that's the what? Heart. And where does Allah speak to you from? The heart. But when you're angry, when you're jealous, when you're envious, you kill your intuition. It causes a block. I'm going to show you today. So, the Apostle of God said, O God Almighty addressed Musa ibn Imran, Prophet Musa, O son of Imran, never be envious of people concerning the favors I have conferred on them by my grace. Do not succumb to your envious self. Don't be jealous of what I've given people. Why? Because you're telling Allah, just because I gave it to him, does it mean I can't give it to you too? Why do you feel like somebody has to lose something in order for you to gain something? And isn't that our community in a nutshell? Unfortunately. I wish one day I say that question and somebody looks at me and says, that's not our community. We're not like that. But every time I ask that question, you know what everybody's head does? Hold on. You're single, all your friends are single, you get married to a beautiful Prince Charming. How many of your friends are happy for you? Right? There's one sister that her mom forever says, I'm going to hate my daughter's friend. Because when she went to get married to her beloved, she got in between and convinced her not to marry so she could marry him. And it worked. And it caused my sister so much pain that she ended up getting cancer, my daughter. And forever. I have a family member whose sister comes to her in her dreams about once a month in chains. Said, why are you in chains? Says, because I need you to forgive me for what I did to your daughter when I backbid her. And it caused her not to get married to that individual. It caused her a lot of hardship in life. And every time she comes in her dream, she can't forgive her. But then I told her, actually, she's not looking for your forgiveness. She's more looking for you to forgive yourself so you free yourself. That's what forgiveness is, freeing yourself from an emotional bond. But our ego gets in a way saying, if I forgive that person, then it's like, there goes my justice. Forgiveness has nothing to do with justice. All right. Hasad, envy, is a psychic state in which a person wishes for the deprivation of a blessing, talent, or merit, real or imagined. You might think somebody has something, even though they don't have it, and you get jealous of it. You get envious of it. Hasn't that all happened to us at least once in our life? Become so jealous of, envious of somebody, and then you realize they don't even have it. Oops. By another person. It does not make any difference to the envious man whether he possesses it or not, whether he could acquire it or not. You hide success from jealous people. Always pray. Protect us from the envious. Be grateful. Should you always, your wins in life, should you be sharing that with everybody? No. Right? Whenever something good, the worst thing, you know what's the biggest poison? Unless it's from Allah, it's praise. Praise could be the biggest poison, because when you do something and you really think it was you, where you feel proud, there's two types of being proud. One, I'm proud Allah gave me this because I acted godly. I'm so proud of myself. Or there's the pride where, yeah, I worked really hard. I probably did some shortcuts, but I achieved success and I'm so proud of that. That type of proud is detrimental. And how do we know we're proud? Well, I don't want to go into that tangent. Okay. You don't want your enemy to have something good. That's one form of enemy. One form of envy. You don't want your enemy to have something good. You have an ex-wife, ex-husband. Now you wish for their demise. That means you're envious. Should you ever be like that? Was the Prophet ever like that? But do you notice how we give each other excuses on why we should be envious of people? There was one sister recently counseled. She goes, I hope my ex-husband's kid dies. She was so angry at him. I got shocked. Right? Don't we say some really foolish things when we're angry? So what's one thing we should do when we're angry? Shush. How many divorces would that save? That 2 minutes of rage. But what does our ego do? Speak now. Haven't people died in this community because they got so angry they couldn't wait that 2 minutes? They acted on it and died because of it. Yes or no? If they didn't act on it, would they have cared a year from now? No. Look how Shaitan gets us. I want to change this mic. Okay, the other type of envy is the one supremacy, right? Where that person you feel has so much over you, you're so envious. Your boss, your coworker, so on. The envious person desires to mistreat the person who's conferred some merit. You're jealous of people who got something that you didn't get. You're so jealous. You're making $100,000 a year, you're happy. You know how weird we are? You're so happy. Alhamdulillah, you work so hard. But then you find out your boss makes $105,000 a year, or your coworker who hasn't been working there as long makes $104,000 a year. What happened now to that person? Does he complain or is he still happy? Complain. Why? You were just happy before you knew that news. That's where our level of tawheed is so weak. It just takes one perspective where somebody tells us a bit of information and there goes our emotional state of love of authority. You're envious of people who have authority over you or authority over other things, and viciousness of nature. Okay, usually envious people, they don't what? You could their face actually changes. It morphs to anger. If you ever meet really, if you look at like Netanyahu's face, if you look at just take the faces of all the treacherous people, transgressors, you'll see a common trait. And you could see, and people have done studies on it, just like people who could look at women's faces who are married and predict if that woman is going to initiate divorce by 95%. Just by the picture, one picture. It's all they need. And I've actually learned how to do it too. There's people like Vanessa Edwards who've given their life and just showing people how to predict just by facial recognition. Okay. We need to be, neither the vastness of my earth nor that of my heaven can contain me. Indeed, it is in the heart of the man of faith which could contain me. So when you have these negative traits, you kill your intuition. And what Allah says, I'm speaking to you, I am in your heart. I'm so close to you. But if you block me through your low desires of envy and jealousy, you will not hear me speak to you. There's a veil. Allah will show you so many signs, but you won't hear him. You won't listen. It's just like you ever have like a teacher, she just explained a lesson, and then she said, what did I say? And what do you say back? I have no idea, but it was right in front of you. I do it in our Wise Academy during prayer. I'll say numbers like 2, 6, 5, 6, 7. Then I'll tell the brother, what did I just say? I'll give you $1,000. And he'll be like, because I'll catch somebody who's not paying attention, and they'll be like, I don't know. So you just lost $1,000. How many other opportunities do we lose because we're not what? Paying attention. How do you not pay attention to Allah's blessings? It's through negative characteristics. Allah blocks you. Recap what I just said in the past 3 sentences to the person next to you, because it's an important point. Go. Share that.
It's regular from somebody else.
You guys have no idea.
That's not from us. The sparkling water is from us. And I think there's coffee there.
I got it. Thank you. Oh, is that coffee? Salam. Where's Huda? Sorry, Huda, I'll reply to you.
I knew it was a higher high.
All right, who'd like to recap what I just said? Einstein said, how do you know you understand something? Is if you could explain it to a 5-year-old. Who could explain what I just said? Okay.
Salam alaikum.
Alaikum salam.
So basically, if you don't count your blessings and you're not grateful, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will block all the barakah and rizq and all the blessings that you have.
Right. And the way he blocks it, he still gives it to you, but you won't what? You won't hear it.
Recognize
you won't
it.
see it. He'll still give it to you, just like I say numbers, but the person says, I didn't hear you. Why? Because their mind was someplace where else. Ever like watch TV and then you change the channel and then what happens? You're like, what was I just watching? Does that ever happen to you? Right? Because we lose consciousness. What's consciousness is awareness. What's awareness? Paying attention. If you're not paying attention to this self, that means you lose consciousness and the body's taking over the mind. And we've all lost that state. That's why it's so you have to be very careful of the state of anger, because anger makes you become unconscious, where we will do some really stupid things. There's a brother in our community that went bankrupt, lost all of his money, became so angry with himself and the world and God, he decided to go home 3 o'clock in the morning. Before he wanted to kill himself, he said, well, I guess I got to kill my family too, because who's going to take care of them? Killed him and his kids. Anger, backbiting, ego. Guess what? I went to that funeral. Me and Hajj Hussein, was one of the saddest days of my life. But guess what? You also have that potential. And our arrogance will think that we could do stupid things, haram things, thinking we won't end up there. And that's what the whole gaming industry, sports betting is doing right now to our society. Saying you can get away with this. Here's this hotline. If you ever get in trouble, we got you covered. And if somebody would have showed that guy, I can't call him a brother, that person who killed his family, a video of him putting a gun to his son's head 5 years prior to that, what would he have said? Impossible. So don't think that's not possible for you. Because it is. Because this world, Imam Ali alayhi salam says, very tricky. It can manipulate you. Unless you're doing things for Allah, you will be manipulated by this world in some way. And shaitan is going to come to me differently in the way he's going to come to you and you and you. He knows how to attack us through our weakness. So before we go to the book, I wanted to talk a little bit about Imam Hadi, because it's all about the intuition. So there was 2 guys walking to Medina. That's where Imam Hadi was. Mutawakkil says, who was the bad guy, says, come, I want you in samurai. Says, okay. So he gets there. There's 2 guys talking, saying, Imam Ali alayhi salam says that the world, the earth, will be a graveyard. All parts of the earth will be graveyards for humans. So the one guy says, how could this be true? How could the whole earth be a graveyard? So they're debating. Then they get to Medina and they're noticing it's the middle of the summer that they're knitting and they're creating jackets, scarves, sweaters. They're knitting it. And these 2 guys and the leader was saying, well, strange people, why are you guys doing this? So Imam Hadi says, before you take us, and they would disturb him middle of the night, just like what's happening in Palestine, that's how they would treat the Imam. Wake him up in the middle of the night, bother him almost every night, at least once a week. So they're like, what strange people. Why are they doing this? So the Imam says, can you give me 2 more days of doing this? Then we'll leave. We want to just finish this work. Said, no problem. So they leave 2 days later. As they're leaving, they get to that spot where those 2 guys were complaining about how Imam Ali says, when they get there, they notice that there's a storm, a sandstorm and a blizzard coming. And out of the 300 soldiers that were sent, 80 of those soldiers died. Then Imam al-Hadi alayhi salam went to those 2 guys and were like, you remember what you were debating about my grandfather? about Imam Ali? Now you know it's true. And the two guys were shocked. One, how did he know we were even debating that? And two, how does that happen in the same exact spot? How did the Imam know? Because the Imam knew from where? His heart. The same way Allah speaks to him, Allah could speak to you the same way. Our problem is we're so attached to this world, we don't believe in that. There was another story I was going to share, but if there's time, I'll share it at the end because I really want to get through. So we're reading, now we're on chapter 4, start with why. Chapter 4 is all about getting clarity of your why. So clarity of why, true or false. It all starts with clarity. You have to know why you do what you do. If people don't buy what you do, then buy why you do it. So it follows that if you don't know why you do what you do, how will anyone else? Repeat it. If people don't buy what you do, they buy. If people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So it follows that if you don't know why you do what you do, how will anyone else? Meaning, if you don't know why you do certain things, then how are you going to convince your kids one day to do the same things that you do? You wear a hijab, your kids don't. Well, how much of an understanding of why you wear hijab that you're able to give that to your kids and inspire them and not manipulate them to wear hijab? You pray. How much do you understand your prayer? Where you convince your kids why they should pray compared to manipulating them to pray. If your why isn't strong, then you're not authentic. And we're going to talk about that. Does that make sense? Okay, sorry. Have you heard of the TED and Song Airlines? Anybody heard about TED Airlines and Song Airlines? TED? No, anybody? You heard of TED? No. Anybody? SubhanAllah. Nobody has ever heard of TED Airlines or Song. Both of these companies, one Delta was TED, United owed Song. What were they? They were cheap, convenient, and fun, and they only lasted 4 years. What were they? They were cheap, they were convenient, and they were fun. They only lasted 4 years. Why? This company was cheap, convenient, and fun, but it had a why. Does anybody know what the company's name was? Not Spiritless. I don't want to hear Spiritless here. Anybody know? It's the most profitable airline company. It's the most profitable. It was even profitable during 9/11. It was profitable during 2008 crash. It's never not been profitable because it has a loyal fan base because they believe in their why. Somebody said it. Southwest Airlines. We're the champion for the common man. In the 70s, only 15% of people flew, only the rich. They asked them, who are your competitors? Our competitors people who rode cars and buses, not the people who fly. So they made flying convenient for who? Everybody, the common. And now they gained a loyal base because everybody believed in their what? Their why. What did TED and Song do? They knew what to do. They even knew how to do it, but nobody understood their what? Why? If you want people to follow you, if you're authentic, that means you have addressed your why. Why am I getting to know you? For instance, I'm going to skip something. I want to go to it. I want to go, and I'm going to come back. I am extremely rich. You just meet somebody, and this is what they open up with. I'm extremely rich. I have a big house, and I drive a beautiful car. I know lots of famous people. I'm on TV all the time, which is good because I'm so good looking. I've actually done pretty well for myself. That's how he opens up. You just met, and you're looking for this person for marriage. Would you have some severe reservations? Yes, because he did what? He bragged, and he talked about what he does and how he does it. But what's one thing he didn't do? But why? Why? Is it all about yourself or is it about Allah? Let's reverse it. Let's send Brad, because they use Brad as the name, out again. But this time he's going to start with why. Start with why. You know what I love about my life? He starts this time. I get to wake up every day to do something I love. I get to inspire people to do things that inspire them. It's the most wonderful thing in the world. In fact, the best part is trying to figure out all the different ways I could do that. It really is amazing. I believe it or not, I've actually been able to make a lot of money from it. I bought a big house and a nice car. I get to meet a lot of famous people and I get to be on TV all the time, which is fun because I'm good looking. I'm very lucky that I'm doing something which I love. I've actually been able to do pretty well. Same thing, but what was the only difference? Why? Would you be interested in this individual? Would you be more interested than the other individual? Yes. All right. So same with you. If you notice that sometimes, how do you know? Sometimes maybe you don't know your why. That's why maybe you're not being able to connect to the people like you want to. Maybe that's why your kids don't run to you. That's why maybe certain people are not so attracted to you. And you're like, why? Well, how much do you understand? That's why we're going to do a very interesting workshop today. Okay. So Southwest Airlines. Encarta. Anybody ever heard of Encarta? Encarta. Bill Gates spent $200 million, right? If you take Encarta versus any other company, say you got Bill Gates, unlimited amount of money, versus a company that has no money, who would you bet on? Bill Gates, right? Encarta. You don't even know it now. This company, it's not like an old company, just like you don't know Song and Ted. So which one would you invest in? You want to give information to everyone at the fingerprint. The other company, this is what they wanted to do. They wanted to give information to everyone at their fingertips. What did Encarta want to do? Make money. That was their why. So that's why they couldn't address their why. Anybody know what the other company was? Encarta went broke. The other company became $1 billion company. They both started at the same exact time. One paid the best programmers, the best people, millions of dollars. The other one said you have to do it for free. But the only difference was one had a why. I didn't even put it. I thought everybody would get it. Wikipedia. Encyclopedia on the web. What was the only difference? The same difference with Southwest, the same difference with your life is you have to understand your why. This chair's right here, guys. You have to understand your why. If you don't understand your why, just like Encarta, you will go bankrupt spiritually. Shaitan will get you because if your why isn't strong enough, when somebody else's why comes stronger, Shaitan's going to tell you why you should do this. You will fall prey to that. So you have to have a strong why, or just like Encarta, you will go bankrupt. That's how Shaitan attacks you. If your foundation isn't strong, you will lose. And the only way your foundation is strong is if you have your why. That's why people go back to gambling. People drink. People do adultery. Why? Because their why is so weak that they forget about Allah. You notice, why do we revere people like Malcolm X, Imam Khomeini, the Prophet? Because what's one thing they weren't for? They weren't for sale. Me and probably the rest of us are here, all have a price. Some of us it's money, some of us it's women, some of us it's relationships, some of us it's praise. We all have a shaitan in us that we have to defeat. And when you defeat it, God says, your how and what, I take care of. As long as you have the why, guess who takes care of how it happens and what happens? Allah. That business that you want to start, if your why is strong, Allah is going to take care of it. I'm living proof. You think me and Hajj Hassanin had any idea how we're going to do this or what we're going to do with the school here in Orlando in the camp? We had no idea. But did we know our why? Yes. What's our why? We just want people to get closer to Allah. And we don't care if we have one person, or 1,000, or 1,000,000. We don't care. But there's nothing else to do in this world. And our faith is strong on that. Well, guess what? You can't give me something better than that, can you? No. So then why don't you do it too? When you know your why, okay, we talked about Allah. Share that, what I just shared in this segment with the person next to you. Understand that if you don't know your why, you will go get lost, just like in Carta. Go. Hajj. All right, who would like the review? Come on. Who would like to review? I will. Go ahead. To her. Go ahead. What did we just talk about? I'm putting you on the spot.
That's fine. Okay. Basically, we talked about the essence of, I think, everything is your why. What comes to you and how it comes to you. The pivotal point is the why. It's the main idea. It's the story.
And
It's the beginning
Shaitan
of the
will
story.
attack you if what is weak? Your why.
Your why.
You agree?
Yeah, 100%.
Yes. Right? If you don't have a strong foundation, you have low self-esteem, you're going to take your imagination from your friends. When you lack imagination, what is that? You're what? When you lack imagination, because you get 4 powers. There's the power of intellect, power of anger, power of desire, power of imagination. When you're excessive with your imagination, what are you? Sneaky, right? You use your imagination to hurt people. When you're just, balanced with your imagination, you're just. Hajj David Turfi in our community is a just judge because he uses his imagination to think about what this person did or did not do. But when you lack your imagination, you don't have imagination, for $10, anybody know the word? Give you one try. You're submissive. When you lack your imagination, that means you're submissive to somebody else's imagination. Isn't that what a group of friends? Let's go here. Let's go to this club. Let's go hang out here. I remember about 10 years ago, I talked about how there was a liquor store on Chase, and I don't even know if it's still open. It used to be called Vegas Liquor. And the youth would go there, they would pay double the price, and they would sell to 15, 16, 17-year-olds. I said, we have to expose this place. After the lecture, the father came to me and says, that was me. I used to go there with my friends. And I realized it was because of my friends that they gave me that imagination. We've all been put in that situation. So how do you take your free will back? You don't listen to everything your friends say when they talk to you about doing something, especially in a haram way. Take your free will back and be just with yourself and say, no, let me imagine what would happen if I do go here. Because there have been individuals in the community who have gone there, got in a car accident and died. What if they would have just used their imagination and say, what could happen if I do this? Can I anticipate any problems? Shouldn't we use that for our imagination? Yes. Okay. So why don't most Muslims pray? Could this be one reason? If their spiritual leader cannot clearly express, and this is, please, sometimes I get in trouble. I might get in trouble today, especially after this workshop. My wife is like, are you sure you want to do this? I said, we're going to give it a try, but we need people with thick skin. So this is not a jab at anybody. I'm just talking, we're having a dialogue. If the spiritual leader cannot clearly express the deeper purpose of their teachings beyond the basic practices and rituals, then how can they expect their followers to understand the deeper reasons for their spiritual journey? Meaning, if we don't have spiritual leaders that tell us why we should meditate, why we should pray, and their why is weak, then are they any different than Encarta? Are they any different than TED? Are they any different than that other company, Song? No. Who are the scholars that I follow? Their why is so strong. What do most scholars do, unfortunately, sometimes? They pay morally attention on how you should do something and where and everything else, but not on the why. Pray, fast, or else you're going to go to hell. Why? Why would God throw me in hell if I don't pray and fast? I don't believe in that such a Lord. Because there's millions of people who don't pray and fast. You're telling me God's going to throw them all in hell? Or the real scholars say it's very hard to go to hell. You know how hard you have to work to go to hell? Do you have any idea how reckless you have to be to do stupid things and never ask for forgiveness? Netanyahu is working really hard to go to hell. What causes potentials to be blocked? The human animal is a social animal. We get good feelings and bad feelings about companies, just as we get good feelings and bad feelings about people. That works when you could listen to the heart. How do you make sure you don't end up divorced one day? Is if your intuition was good when you met somebody. How do you make sure you don't end up in a bad business deal? How much did you follow your gut, your intuition? These are some people we just feel we could trust and others we just feel we can't. So why do some people not follow our gut? It's because we've lost our free will to this world. We don't follow our gut because we can't listen or hear what Allah is saying. But what's the most powerful gift Allah has given us is our intuition. How did the Imam know that to tell these guys that now did you see how Imam Ali was right? Because everything was from where? The heart. I could give you so many stories. There was one guy whose mom came to him, says, "You're not going to school today." He said, "Why?" He says, "I don't know, but you're not going to school today." And there's millions of types of these narrations. Why am I not? "Ma, but I have a field trip. I really want to go." "But are you going to be in school?" And he told his mom, "No. Right when we get there, we're going on the bus and we come back at 3. But the mom says, "You're not allowed to go in that school." He said, "Okay." The next day, the same day, he goes to school, comes back. There was a person who went through the window, who just had a trench coat on, no other clothes, had 3 guns and killed 20 kids. He went through the window where her son would have been. How did the mom know? Until this day, it was 20 years later, you know what he keeps asking her? "Ma, how did you know?" She says, can you explain intuition? "No, go ask Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. Could you explain it?" Like, no. There are certain times where it made no sense to do something, but they followed their what? That's Allah. That's why Allah says, "We're close to you. I speak to you through your heart. You could have me, but you can't allow yourself to lose your free will to this world." Isn't that so cool? Now you don't need anybody else but Allah. But you have to live Allah-li. So what's the first rule in Islam? Sharia. Follow it. And why? Because you want God to guide you. Because God says, when I'm with you, who's going to destroy you? But if I'm not with you, who the heck is going to help you? Netanyahu thinks God is helping him. Is he? No, God is destroying him. He just doesn't see it. But right when he dies, he'll be like, oops. I'm going to show this really quick.
Throw around a lot, and I'm not sure how many people really are practicing or cultivating the skills to be able to hear your intuition on a daily basis. And if you ask every high performer, every super successful CEO, every entrepreneur, how did you come up with this idea? How did you know to turn right instead of turning left? And they say, it was just my intuition. I just had this feeling in my gut. And so this sort of elusive gut thing can be like, well, how do I hear it? How do I know? And so here's the reality. If you don't have a daily meditation practice, then it's very hard to tell the difference between your critical mind and your intuitive mind.
Did you hear that? You have to be in daily prayers. So just replace meditation and prayers. Otherwise, you won't know the difference.
Right? It's like our left brain critical mind is always screaming at us, like, I suck, I suck, I suck. I'm going to die alone with cats eating my face. And it's very hard to hear your intuition while your critical mind is screaming at you.
Do you agree? Yes. And we all lost our free will to this mind. Yes. Your brain doesn't come with you when you die. It's still in the grave. Go check. It's in other people's graves, right? So what do you take? Your pure conscious self. That's your real you. That's the side that the intuition listens to.
Because your intuition whispers. It's like, write that book, call that guy, start that company. And if you've got this screaming, I suck voice happening all the time, how are you supposed to hear that intuitive voice?
So anybody who's gone through trauma, gone through really hardships in life, they can't listen to their intuition. Their life becomes hard. They go into business, it doesn't work. They enter other relationships, it doesn't work. Nothing works because they haven't overcome their trauma. Because they can't, because of that analytical self. And everything now is a threat. Everything is now somebody to be angry at.
And so what meditation does is that we actually start practicing taking our right brain to the gym every single day. And your right brain is the piece of you that is in charge of intuition. It's the piece of you that actually connects to collective intelligence, right? Like I like to think about intuition and
Connects to Allah.
creativity as a Wi-Fi network, and our right brain is the router. Our right brain is the piece of us that allows us to connect to the collective intelligence. Now, the left brain is the actual computer. Right now, you could have the fanciest computer, you could have the most developed intellect, you could have such an incredible life experience, but imagine how much good a computer is going to do you just sitting there not connected to the internet. Now imagine you connect that computer to the internet. How much smarter does it become? How much more capable does it become? Because you're exchanging ideas, you're able to intuit other people's desires, you're able to hear how nature actually wants to use you to deliver your fulfillment.
Is that an Islamic principle? Yes. Salawat. So you're not going to come up right now. Come up within 2 minutes. So I'll ask again, but what I would want is 2 or 3. We'll do sisters. The next week we could pick on brothers. And what we're going to do is ask you. So I asked like really deep why questions. I toned it down a little bit because I think half of you would walk out because you'll be like, I'm picking on these people. We're going to test your why. And how much do you understand what you're doing? And there's a reason why. So right now, have it in the back of your mind. If you think you'd like to volunteer, then whoever raises their hand, I'll pick 3 random people. When you say and do the things you actually believe, but if you don't know why the religion or the practices exist on a level beyond what you do, then it's impossible to know the things you say or do are consistent with your why. Without why, any attempt of being authentic almost always show you as unauthentic. If you don't know why you pray and fast, people will not be inspired by you because you'll be like, you're telling me to pray and fast, but you're not even happy all the time. You're always miserable. You're always sad. What's wrong with you? I don't want to be like you. When parents come and tell me my kids won't pray and fast, I said, look at you. You're miserable. You have a disease. You're sick. You're always complaining. Don't you think that has something to do with it? Because subconsciously, I don't want to be with somebody that's always angry and sad. And if they pray and fast and that causes them to be angry and sad, I don't want to be that. Thus, the reason why the Prophet was always happy and smiling, even on the battlefield. Imam Hussein alayhi salam was smiling on the 10th of Karbala. How? 10th of Muharram. Smiling. It's narrated. How do you smile when you know your family is going to be butchered? How do the Palestinians smile when they know they're being destroyed? It's all about faith. So the aim of life should be to connect with just anyone who appreciates what you offer. It should be to seek out and foster relationships with those who share your core beliefs and values. You agree? You shouldn't just be with people because you look pretty or because you have $1 million in the bank or because you're a CEO. When you find out that your friends are your friends for those reasons, how does that make you feel? Horrible. Who share your core beliefs and values. When we choose to surround ourselves with people who believe in our why, a natural sense of trust and deeper understanding emerges. This approach guides us to more meaningful and fulfilling interactions and experiences, aligning our actions with our true purpose. You have to make sure you're around authentic people. And Islam is not a noun. Being authentic is not saying something, I am authentic, I am truthful. Islam is not a noun. It's a verb. It's an action. You could say I'm truthful all you want, but if you don't act on truth, then you are not authentic. That's why many non-Muslims will be raised as Muslims because they're authentic towards the truth. They don't lie, they don't steal, they don't cheat. They submit to the truth. They are Muslims. That's why many Muslims will die and be raised as something else because they knew what to do, but they weren't authentic to themselves. I am extreme. Okay, we did this. How we heard our intuition. Very short video. Women, please pay attention to this. Ready? We have silence. It's very short. He says a lot. You guys know who this is, right? Former Zionist, is now pro-Palestinian. He wrote the book, The Myth of Normal. This guy's amazing.
Women have 80% of autoimmune disease in this society.
Who have 80% of autoimmune disease? Women.
Disease where the immune system attacks the body happens to women much more than to men. Things like rheumatoid arthritis, systemic lupus, chronic fatigue.
Sound familiar? Women typically have these issues more than men, right? Here's why.
Fibromyalgia, inflammatory diseases of the gut. Why? Compulsively concerned with the emotional needs of others.
What's one reason? They worry about everybody else except who? And they really think they're being godly. Say, I'm taking care of. God says, you're worshiping people. Worship me. Why aren't you taking care of this body? You're taking care of everybody else's body and needs. Allah has given you this body, this mind. Why aren't you taking care of it the same way? You're taking care of them. Why aren't you taking care of yourself?
Than their own, identified with duty, role, and responsibilities, their work in the world rather than their own true selves. They tended to suppress healthy anger.
They tend to suppress what? They're not allowed to show anger in a healthy way, that they're upset with something, that they're sad with something. They keep it all what? In. And then what's the role of the immune system? To allow healthy things in, to not allow bad things out, to keep bad things out. What's the role of your emotional system? Same thing. What happens is your body betrays you if you don't express yourself. Thus, cancer, disease, lupus, and so on. Make sense?
So they tend to be very, very nice and peacemakers. And they tended to believe that they're responsible for other people feel, and that they must disappoint anybody. Two fatal beliefs.
What was the last one? Who can repeat it? They make everybody else happy except themselves. And what else? They don't want to make anybody unhappy. Even if it's shaitan, I can't deal with people being unhappy with me. Why? That comes from childhood. Because as soon as you failed in something, your parents weren't happy with you. They crucified you. You said, I'm going to do anything I can never to feel that way. I'm going to be the best people pleaser. We've become a society of people pleasers. We don't people please. We please Allah. You find yourself. Everybody talks about practice yourself, focus on yourself. That's shirk. You focus on yourself to get closer to Allah. That's the key. But everybody else leaves that part out, especially the West. If it's not for getting closer to Allah, then you've lost.
These are the people that, according to my observation, but according to a whole lot of research as well, that I didn't even know about, these are the people that tend to develop autoimmune disease. Now, in this society, which gender is more acculturated, programmed to suppress their healthy anger, to be the peacemakers, to be the caregivers. Women, this is a function of a reality that a lot of people deny, but it's a patriarchal society, which we can talk about, but it's not a conspiracy. Women have 80%.
Okay. So now, I hope I don't get in trouble with what I'm about to do. So clarity of why, true or false. It all starts with why. Remember, we went over this with clarity. You have to know why you do what you do. If people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. So it follows that if you don't know why you do what you do, how will anyone else? You will not be authentic. And the reason why we're not authentic, because we're trying to please people. We've been hurt from childhood. This is the way we know to survive. We want to take care of everybody else than ourselves. That means we're inauthentic. So what I'm going to do is I want to ask 3 people to come up. You're going to look this way. Then you're going to be asked questions. And then the audience is going to raise their hand if you are authentic or not. I had a podcast recently. It's a podcast for podcast done with divorced women. It's primarily for them. I'm going to share it on the group when she posts it. Please watch it. We had one of those types of questions asked between me and the sister. Who's brave enough? Now, I don't want to get sued. But you have to be strong enough to say, I want to know who I am. And am I authentic enough, or do I always hide who I really am? There's no wrong answer, but it's just to show that it's okay to expose yourself, saying that I don't know. I want to be authentic. I want to stop hiding who I truly am. And if people don't accept me for who I am, I want to throw them in the sea. I don't want nothing to do with them. So who's ready? We need 3. We got 1? Come on. Come on. Yeah. Okay, we got 1 brave soul. I should have you guys sign a waiver. We have 2 brave souls. You sure? Okay, you look this way. Somebody get her a chair. We need 1 more brave soul. And yeah, can you get me the mic? No, Huda's sit. Huda's as authentic as you could get. Come on, if you raise your hand, come on. I need 1 more chair. Can I get this chair? Oh, okay. Now, I know this is on YouTube. If it gets awkward, I will take this out of YouTube, so you don't have to worry. But I just need you to answer truthfully. I'm going to give you guys I'll fix these mics next week. So here we go. You'll go first, and then second, and then third. And then every time somebody answers, I just think, how many of you are authentic? And then you just raise your hand. Because if they were looking at you, you're more likely to what? Lie. All right. Oops. I need these. Hold on. I need 1 by 1. I'll fix that. 1 second. Sorry. Now, these were the tame questions. So when I do counseling, it's all about, don't look.
Oh.
Don't look. Close your eyes. Please don't look. Okay. I know. It's okay. Okay. All right. First one. You ready? Ready? Why do you sometimes do things you know you shouldn't?
Can I take a moment to think about it?
Yeah. No, just what comes to you. There are things you know there's things that you know. Sometimes you do things you know you shouldn't. There's things that you know you shouldn't do, but you do it anyway. Why? That's why you.
Oh, sorry.
You can pass and then I'll come back.
Yes.
It's convenient. I want the
Okay.
easy way out.
Raise your hand if you felt that was authentic. Wow.
I second guess my first instinct.
Okay. Sam, why you laugh? I'm going to bring you up here. Because are there things you know you shouldn't do, but you do it anyway?
I think it's honestly sometimes my addiction to this dunya.
Raise your hand if you think. Okay. So you guys all passed. Majority have thought you were authentic. Very good. Okay, now we'll start with you since we ended. Ready? You could pass if you want. Why do you sometimes not do things that you know you should?
Fear.
Fear? Why would you be scared? For instance, do you pray?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to go back to the other question. So why are there some things in Islam you know you should do, but you don't?
Because I want to be 100% knowledgeable on something before I commit to it 100%.
But she's not 100% knowledgeable about hijab,
Mhm.
but she wears it. So should she take it off?
No.
So then,
I believe with me when it comes to hijab, it's
not hijab, but don't pick on hijab.
Okay.
That's later.
okay.
Right? But why?
Yeah.
there are things you know for certain, because that's not an authentic answer, because you know there are things that you do now that you're not 100% sure, but
Right.
you do it anyway. So
I
I'm gonna,
think-
and by the way, I'm not picking on you. It's a side. By the way, we
No,
all
I
have
really
this.
enjoy this.
We protect ourselves through this. We put this bubble, right? Everybody sees our fake self. We all, you don't think I have it? You think I'm like this all day talking about Allah? My wife's right here, ask her. I'm not, right? But does my wife know my authentic self? Yes, right? She knows the stuff that makes me angry. She knows how to trigger. And guess what she does out of love? She making sure she doesn't do it unless I make her angry. All right.
So the simple answer would be the fear of not committing to it 100%. But the long answer would be that in the past, when I would try to commit to things that I knew I should be doing, I would do everything all at once. And I would end up, not
It's like somebody
consider-
love bombing
Right.
you, but you love bomb yourself.
Right. So what I learned to do is do one thing at a time, commit to that, dedicate to that, and then the next step.
Very
So
good.
that's why.
Excellent. Raise your hand. But you notice, so that's what counseling does. Counselors shouldn't speak much, but what do? We just get it out of you saying, this is why you do what you do. That's what I deal with drug addicts. That's what I do with gamblers. That's what I do with people who don't do good in life. Why do you do that? Let's figure out. Let's change that why. Go ahead.
For me, it's judgment.
She doesn't do what she wants to do because she's fear of being.
Judged.
Isn't that honest? And isn't that why most of us? Yes, very good.
Because I'm a people pleaser.
Just like being judged, right? You guys think that's authentic? Yes. Right?
Oh, and insecurities.
Insecurity. Yep. We feel very insecure. All right, next one. Why do you not wear the headscarf? Remember,
Truthfully,
and again, this is not about judgment. The question is, why? What's wrong with asking somebody? Now, should you ask somebody why they don't wear the headscarf if they didn't give you permission? No. You get a slap in the face. But she's giving me permission. So go ahead.
truthfully, I feel that I'm still obsessed over my physical self, and I'm not ready to face that. In the past, I would tell myself, I'm not 100% knowledgeable on the, headscarf to start wearing it, but I've realized that it's because I'm not ready to let go of my physical.
Yes. And isn't that right? Mention barely ever talk about hijab. I'm going to leave it, but go ahead. I had a point, but I think it's going to.
Okay, prior was because obviously I was chasing worldly affairs. I didn't understand the merits.
And
but
Sister Mariam just recently put on the headscarf.
I'm 17 days in.
17 days in. Okay. Now, but should she count? No.
No.
I don't count the last time I drank alcohol. I don't count that I'm 100 years sober, whatever, right? Why? Because I'm not an alcoholic. I don't count the last time I smoked a cigarette. Why? Because I'm not a cigarette. So it's actually bad for your subconscious to count.
Yeah.
Good.
And so I didn't understand the merits. I was chasing worldly desires and affairs. I was obsessed with fashion. So I want to understand it. And then once I learned the merits and why we need to wear the hijab, it's the best form that you stand in front of your beloved, who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I wanted to satisfy him and not my soul or the people around me. So I took the courage, put it on, and now I know I'm content and he's content with me.
So how do you know that's going to be authentic? She's going to be tried. People are not going to want her to wear hijab. So what she said, her why, how do you know it will be strong, is when she's tested.
Okay, well, I do wear it because God says so. But why am I lenient with it? Because when you normalize certain things, getting rid of the certain things becomes a daunting task, and you just sort of go with it.
How authentic. Okay. So you notice there were some layers. So if I were to counsel, I said, okay, wait, you're not getting off. Let's really talk about it. And the authentic answer was here, actually. Why don't I do certain things? It's exactly what she said. It's why most of us. And that's what Shaitan rules. Excellent. All right. We'll start with you. Why do you believe the Quran is the word of God?
I think it's a matter of faith, just knowing and believing.
Okay. Now, if your kids tell you, why should you go to school every day? I just believe I should. Or why do you go to work? I just believe I should. You would say, really? Don't you think school has a greater purpose than just what you believe or feel?
I think actually reading it, looking into the reasons behind everything and sort of knowing why it tells us to do this stuff and really be convinced of it. And then you just sort of.
So you notice the difference between the two answers.
Yeah.
There's one side that says, it's my parents, it's my faith. The other side says, well, I probably should investigate and I figure out my why I read the Quran. Which one is most people at? First. Good. Raise your hand for that one. Okay, go ahead. Can't look.
I do believe that. Because I believe that the words of Allah are true, and I want to exhibit and actually have Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's names be attributes expressed through me.
Okay. Raise your hand. Okay.
I believe the words of the Quran are from God because, one, the miracles in the Quran, two, being that the Quran is the only book that has not changed, and three, while reading the Quran, like we've been talking about, my intuition just feels that this is the words of Allah.
Right.
And to be honest, when the first time I read the Quran, I felt like all the answers are in there, even till present day, and this book was written thousands of years ago.
So then, can I be the bad guy?
Mm-hmm.
Since you said, so here's the authentic self. Since you said it's the truth, and it's the only book where God is speaking, God very clearly says, wear hijab.
Yes.
So then that's where she goes back. My belief is in the hijab. I get my beliefs from the Quran, but I'm not ready yet because I still have some attachments I got to get over.
Correct.
That's being authentic. And then what Allah does is he'll penetrate your heart with a vision, with something, and Allah says, oh, now I'm ready. And then how do you know you're authentic? When Allah opens up your heart, are you ready to take that step? It might happen now. It might happen 10 years from now. It's between her and Allah. Do you think when you die, you're going to care if she put on hijab or not? But yeah, we're so judgmental. Even women who wear hijab, why is she wearing hijab? Look, she's wearing tight clothes. Well, shouldn't you say, inshallah, her clothes get better, not to take off the hijab? If somebody gives charity who's also owns a liquor store, you don't tell them to stop giving charity. You tell them what? Sell the liquor store. Why do we do that with hijab? Excellent. Keep it. All right. Why do you believe in forgiving your enemies?
Because I believe we are all one. And I believe in order to have an enemy, you're an enemy of yourself.
Okay. Raise your hand. Okay.
Honestly, I struggle.
And by the way, I'm not picking on any of you. But you notice when you understand somebody's why, somebody could wear hijab, somebody may not wear hijab, but when somebody understands their why, who are you willing to invest in? And if you take a poll out of you three, there'd be one person who would stick out that you would invest in more. So you notice it's not about the outwardly, it's what's in their heart. And sometimes people have a hard time expressing what they're in their heart because they've gone through so much pain in the world. And now they don't want to open up themselves to anybody. That's amazing. And this is proof. Go ahead.
So this is something I truly struggle with, but I continue to remind myself that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the most merciful, most forgiving. And so if I can't, if I want God to forgive me for my hidden sins or whatnot, who am I not to forgive my enemies if I want Allah's forgiveness?
Raise your hand. Very good. All right. We got one more, and then we'll end. Nobody leave, please. Good.
Because Imam Hussein forgave her and we follow in their footsteps. They're the closest thing to perfect that we can strive to be in terms of closeness to God. So,
Right. Right. I'm with you. So, hey, you can't look.
sorry.
So, and what's the key with this? We all think, yeah, Imam Hussein forgave her. I'm going to forgive my enemy. I've had meditations where I had my enemies in hell. I hated them so much. Then I realized I'm in hell with them, right? We all living in the West, because the West makes you think everybody's the enemy. Why? From young age in school, the Israel kids are taught that Palestinians are enemies, and they have no idea why. They're just your enemies. You can't forgive them. Okay, last question. You ready? You guys are all brave for doing this. Last one. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Why will people be sad when you pass away? Woof.
Generally, or like me,
You.
because they love me.
Ah. Okay.
I'm great company.
Raise your hand. Okay.
I'm many people's safe haven, and a lot of people come to me for guidance and help as I go to others. So, and if I pass away before my mother, I think.
But you know what? Imagine. God, I hope I don't get in trouble. You're okay, right? Imagine I came to you, Mariam, said, you know why you're going to be sad when I die? Because I'm your safe haven. What would you think of me?
No, I wouldn't.
Imagine I go to I'm counseling. Yeah, you better come to me because I'm your safe haven.
No, as like a comfort. I know a lot.
I know what you're saying.
Yeah,
But I'm telling you how it comes out.
right. I know Allah's my. I was like, obviously one, but
there you go.
I think what I give that comfort to people, that comfort that I provide to others.
Right. So the way you would rephrase it, and you would see if that is your true why, I'm people's safe haven because I try to remember them of Allah.
Yes.
And that's actually your purpose.
Yeah.
You just didn't.
I didn't deliver it correctly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Raise your hand. All right, go ahead.
Well, I'm one that's dealt with a lot of grief. And so I prepare a lot of my loved ones, I believe, and I let them know that, one step, every day that passes, I'm one step closer to my death, and that makes me happy.
Right.
And so I would hope that they'd be happy, but if they're sad, I believe it's because I'm always that person I'm always the listening ear, and I'm always there to help at any given moment.
Right. And raise your hand. And the key with this one is they're sad because I never betrayed them. When they weren't around, I protected them. When they were around, I was good to them. That's why they're sad. That's it. That's what they were basically articulating. But you notice how many people will be sad in your life, and why would they be sad when they leave? Some of us, they'll be sad because you're just a provider. Some of us will be sad because we know them all their life. But the essence should be because they reminded me to be more godly. And those are the people that Allah makes sure that they never forget. Thus will never forget the Prophet. Because all the Prophet did, he says, I'm just a clear messenger. I'm going to remind you of Allah. All of these things should be because I want to get closer to Allah. Because that's all that exists. So you notice, how long did it take to get to know these three in a deeper manner? And this was a public setting. Did it take much? No. And don't you know them a little bit more? And there'll be more others that you'd invest more maybe to others because you feel, I know that person's why, that person maybe, or I'd invest in that one, maybe not that one. What did it take? Just the right questions. And that's what counseling should be. But how do you know you're at that level? Is because you know how to answer these. Your why is so strong, you become authentic. And that's what's our mission. My mission is to do that for myself. Where my tawheed is so strong, just like Prophet Yusuf, he got thrown in prison, he smiled. Prophet Muhammad got garbage thrown at him, he smiled because he understood his why. How do you want to become more authentic? You have to dig deeper into your soul. And the only way to do that is start asking yourself the right questions. This is why these types of questions, whenever you're about to get married in premarital counseling, saves 8 out of 10 marriages. Because then you realize, wait a second, that's not the person I fell in love with. Wait, we're not compatible. Oh, this is what we have to work on to become compatible. That's why it saves 8 out of 10 marriages. That's why I believe every scholar who marries somebody should do this. And actually, the questions are much deeper, and they really make your skin crawl. I get to do it one-on-one because the person's coming to me. They really are desperate for help. Well, guess what? I get to ask, and their heart is already open, so it's easy. Who is it really hard to do? So when a parent brings me her kid, forces him to come see me, and he's not what? He doesn't want to know. He doesn't want to be asked, and so on. That's why I've been in those situations. I'm like, you're going to die. You don't want to know anything of why you shouldn't leave your father or betray him or do these things. And they've died. And I've gone to those cemeteries to the point where I wanted to give up this work because I felt the blame. And then the father would call me and say, no, keep going. You're not the one to blame. I witnessed it. And that's where we have to purify ourselves and humble ourselves. Say there's a lot of things about ourselves we should change. And when we do, then we get to tap into our intuition. And then we do, Allah says you will be successful in this world and the next. Salawat. Let's give them a large salawat for all coming up. Salawat. You have to be very brave to come up here. And I apologize. I think that went a little bit better than I expected. My wife made me a little bit nervous, but I'm okay. Recap 2 points that you're going to take away from what you just witnessed today. Go ahead to the person next to you. Go. And then we're going to end. We're going to end in 2 minutes. So just give me 2 more minutes of your time. So I'll end with this. The reason why you want to know your why, because when do we lose our faith? Is when we're put through trials. When your why is strong enough to know that you're not meant for this world, and this trial that you're enduring is meant for the next world to enhance yourself. Thus the reason when you know why, then how and what will happen naturally through trials. That's why God tries you. You know why you're doing it? God is going to try you to elevate you. Unfortunately, if our why isn't strong, when our trials come, a health issue, a divorce problem, a business problem, what do? We complain. God says, why are you complaining? I'm going to use this as a reason to elevate you. That's why it's a fundamental principle in the Quran that prophets of God never complain to people. Ever. They only complained to Allah because they know this was a trial to elevate. That's the only reason why you go through setbacks, just for you to get closer to Allah. And if you don't know your why, you're going to use that as a reason to go away from Allah. Make sense? Good. We're going to go even deeper next week, inshallah. Thank you. It was a great night. There's one last thing. So every week it costs about $225 to run the program, the food, the drinks, the refreshments. So it's always a few of the same people who are always donating and so on. So this is one of the, I rarely ask, you notice there's no basket. We've done this program since Hajj Hassanin in 40 years. Has never done a fundraiser. There's people that have been with us for a long time. You've never seen a fundraiser, but somehow we've been able to raise millions of dollars. This program has always been with the people coming in to sponsor it. So I think it's good for you to sponsor. If you believe in this program, just sponsor. You don't have to do it now. You can do it later. So there's two ways. There's sister, somehow that's downstairs that buys the food. Like she actually paid from her own pocket the last 2 weeks, right? So we're just looking for sponsors. So one, you either give her, or two, where did it go? Ooh, we're going to talk all about this next week, inshallah. Right here. So it's either Zelle to Hikmah. This is if you want to join the What's group, or you could Zelly to Hikmah if you'd like, or you could give her the cash. We just need some sponsors, 3 or 4, that'll help us go for the next month so people don't have to. We appreciate your support. What did you guys think of bringing up the 3 people here? Do you think you should also be put through that to know where you're at? So put yourself through that. Write it down. Why do I wear hijab? Why do I not? Why do I pray? Why do I not? Why do I watch this haram? Why do I not? Why do I gamble? Why do I always speak to my wife and sometimes not in a loving way? And go deep into your heart. And that, now your heart is speaking to you. That's Allah speaking to you. But aren't we scared? When they do this with women, they said, how many of you would like to be either electrocuted for a minute, or you're alone with your thoughts for 20 minutes? Guess what majority of women said? Electrocuted. We've lived in such a materialistic society that everything is outside of us. We don't even want to be alone. Do you notice how many of you, we always have to listen to the radio or have the TV on or on our phone while we're eating? Why? You've lost this free will. Take it back by saying, okay, no more. I'm going to be okay with spending time with myself, even if I don't like myself. I'm going to train. That's how you increase your self-esteem. And if you can't do that, get off social media. Take a break for about 2 months. Watch how your self-esteem just skyrockets, because now you got to spend time with yourself. Thank you. How time is it? Did I do bad? Yeah. Okay. I'll be better next week. All right. We'll be back in here at 10 o'clock. Food and refreshments now. Thank you, everybody. It was a great...